SmartFunds is building simple, automated, and compliant fund administration tools. See disclaimers. SmartFunds is addressing the challenges related to the high barriers to entry for someone to get into asset management. Generally, you can't be an asset manager unless you already know you can raise large amounts of capital. That generally comes from being part of some existing network, perhaps the old boys club. And if you can get over those hurdles, there's a very limited number of investment strategies and vehicle types that are generally used. And if you get over those hurdles, there are the costs. So it generally costs $20,000 to $150,000 to get off the ground, and then a variety of ongoing costs related to back office and compliance. We're eliminating all those barriers to entry by making fund administration open source. So we reduce all of the fund creation and administration to a set of smart contracts. In just a few minutes, you can create a custom vehicle that includes customized management and performance fee, custom lockup period. We manage high watermark. We manage a whitelist to ensure compliance. All of that can be spun up in a matter of minutes. And by doing that, we have unlocked the ability to use public infrastructure, in this case, a block explorer, for fund administration and auditing. What you're looking at here is a screenshot from Etherscan, which represents a live cap table of a hedge fund. This is not hypothetical. This is actually the cap table for a hedge fund that we launched called the Yield Farming Fund. And yes, we ate our own dog food here. We launched the first compliant US hedge fund built entirely out of smart contracts. The Yield Farming Fund is the only fund the only compliant hedge fund that does not have a bank account or a fund administrator. And we've been in operation for over a year now. So this is not a hypothetical kind of futuristic thing that might happen in the future. And it's because we use those smart contracts that we unlock all these cost reductions. We turned all these upfront and fixed costs into either zero or variable. And it's important that this infrastructure becomes available now because of what DeFi enables. The concept of locking collateral in smart contracts is underneath almost all of the most creative and exciting use cases of DeFi. It's an exponential advance in rehypothecation and turns investment strategies from what was previously checkers into a version of 3D chess. And so this unlocks a new wave of creativity and a new opportunity for emerging fund managers to try entirely new strategies with exciting possibilities for investor returns. Liquidity mining and NFTs are entirely new asset classes. And there's obviously a tremendous amount of excitement for investors to participate in certainly the NFTs. As liquidity mining matures, liquidity mining is becoming the Web3 version of growth hacking. And any investor who wants to be a quote unquote early stage investor and participate in either liquidity mining or NFTs as an asset class will need native on-chain fund administration infrastructure. Having a bank account full of fiat dollars at Silicon Valley Bank does not do you any good. You need to get the capital on-chain. More important than what's necessary is what becomes possible. And these are things we've already touched on. Just as Uber exponentially increased the size of the taxi market and email exponentially increased the size of the communications market, what becomes possible when you remove all those barriers to entry? So one idea that we had was the idea of an SPV for a single position, something we call a 0 and 1 fund. Or how about dollar cost averaging into a hedge fund? This is also something that wasn't possible before, given traditional closing costs and closing processes offline. But again, not hypothetical. What you see on the right is actually a screenshot of notifications I got in our own fund, where one of our investors wanted to essentially front run a market move and dollar cost average into his position. At first, we best serve the more purely on-chain DeFi-focused hedge funds or any kind of Web3 focused fund. But as we add the rest of the compliance functionality, we'll be able to offer fund administration tools for any kind of fund or vehicle. But as we noted, we're most excited about the new kinds of vehicles that we enable using this exciting infrastructure. We do have a growing pipeline full of interested parties. This is a great time for, there's a great deal of interest in starting on-chain related funds. We have a very high conversion rate to verbal commitments based on our pipeline of qualified leads. What we're finding is that existing fund administration options have an extremely low net promoter score. Everyone hates their fund administrator, and while they consider them a necessary evil, as soon as we're able to offer the same compliance functionality, as soon as we're at feature parity, we're going to be winning an even higher number of these accounts. It's important to understand where we lie on the competitive landscape. On the left, you see all of the sort of traditional off-chain, offline fund administration services, and they do let you participate in a variety of investment strategies, vehicle types, but they are painful to use and expensive and complex. On the right, we've moved into the more purely decentralized asset managers, Yearn Finance, Index, Token Sets as examples. These are basically single strategy, repeatable, profitable strategies that are run by smart contracts. They are designed not to be nimble. They are designed not to be active. In fact, Yearn, for example, will not deploy none of their strategies will deploy capital into automated market makers because of the risk of impermanent loss, because the returns aren't certain. So these are not intended to be actively managed asset managers. On the more active but decentralized side are Enzyme and DHedge. And they have solved for decentralization by essentially limiting the available asset universe and strategy universe substantially in order to be 100% decentralized. And so we think that it's important for asset managers to be able to leverage not just all of the assets in DeFi, but all of the strategies that involve rehypothecation, lending, borrowing, and certainly multi-layered, the new kinds of multi-layered investment strategies that are enabled by the exciting rehypothecation of locked collateral. And so only SmartFunds gives you the benefits of all these in one option. We are the team that knows the most about this. We are the team that both built and launched that first smart contract-based hedge fund, and our work has been noticed. We have a growing partnership with Enigma Securities, a McCore Group company, which is helping to establish us within the institutional client base that we hope will be the next generation of on-chain fund managers. Now we're going to demonstrate how easy it is to start a fund on the SmartFunds protocol. Click Start a Fund. You see here that we only have one fund type at first, but we'll be offering all kinds of options down the road. Each fund is designed around the general ledger being attached to one blockchain address. In this case, this is the address that I'm currently logged into via MetaMask. So we're going to go ahead and use that. We're going to call this fund the Demonstration Fund. And we'll give it a demo fund symbol. And we're going to skip the URL, but we're going to say that this is the contact information for fund manager should people want to get in touch. Here's where we create the fund parameters. We're going to keep it a 2 and 20 fund in terms of fees. We're going to have a minimum $10,000 investment, and we're going to do a 12-month lockup. And so here's where it asks you to confirm the fund parameters. And sure enough, it's as simple as executing that transaction. And there it is. You see that we have steps for how to manage your fund. Here's where you can see there's no capital in the fund yet or assets under management, but you have demonstration fund. Here is where you would be able to update your AUM after the fund has started. Here's where you'd see your list of investments that have been taken in, manage your whitelist, and manage your fees, which come in the individual fund token, which would be paid in demo in this case. Now, if we go ahead and look at some other funds that have been already set up, you can see in this case, here's a fund that was started yesterday. Only $2,000 has been invested, and obviously they've made a whole bunch of money in the last day. They must have invested in some new NFT. But here you can see the assets that are in the fund, the prices in them, links to third-party pricing. But most importantly for test fund, we can take a look at the contract address and see here is the actual test fund. Here are all the transactions in test fund, and here are all the minting. The first investor minted 200,000 shares of this fund of TFND. So here's us using public infrastructure for fund administration and auditing tools. And we look forward to telling you more. Thank you.